It's heartbreaking. I mean, we're used to him being there whenever I left to go to work. Whenever I got back, he was gone. He was a great good kid. I mean, he was one of the kids that every parent dreamed of. You know, it's just floored everybody that, you know, he's not here.
That video was from over 3 years ago, his family reaching out and asking me for help. And I got to be honest, guys, there's some cases where I just feel like I can't do the coverage. There just isn't enough information. Dakota's case initially hit me as one of those. That news coverage that you saw, that's from the one article that's posted about him. We've got a NamUs entry, that one article, and that's about it. And I told the family, I really want to help you guys, but I'm going to need help to be able to do that. So we will be having some family members come on and join us and share more details about what's going on with Dakota's case, what are the possibilities in it, and what they're dealing with as well. But before we get to that, let's try to do it our usual way. Let's turn on the searchlight for Dakota Covington. Welcome back to Brain Scratch Searchlight. I'm John Lorden. Thank you so much for joining me today and for caring about these cases like I do. Let's go ahead and start with the admittedly limited information that we can find on Dakota Scott Covington, a white Caucasian male. Date of last contact, April 29th, 2021, missing from Meade, Oklahoma at the age of 27. He would currently be 31 years old. Not noticing any nicknames here. We'll ask his family a little bit more about that as well. For his height, they have him somewhere around 5'10" to 5'11". Weight, they're saying 200 to 210 pounds. Circumstances of disappearance, we've got practically nothing, guys. He was last seen wearing a black shirt, black pants, black shoes. Physical description, his hair is black, his eyes are brown. He has a tattoo on his right shoulder of claw marks and a tattoo of a tribal band on his upper left arm. Again, they're just noting his clothing here. No method of transportation noted. It seems like his father went off to work, Dakota was left at home, and his father comes home and Dakota's missing, and that's it. There are 2 photos that have been uploaded for him here, including one. I don't know if this means he might have had a charge at some point. This kind of looks like a booking photo. Maybe we'll find out more information about that as well. But where is this taking place? Meade, Oklahoma. Meade is a town in Bryan County, Oklahoma. The population, now I cover a lot of cases and I say, wow, this is a small town. This is a small town. Population here, 122 at the 2010 census, 123 in 2000. This is such a small population. You could literally go door to door asking about this case. I think there's only about 50 homes here. As a matter of fact, the total square area of the entire town is 0.1 square miles. So very, very small town. Now, of course, I have looked into enough small town situations to know that it's not always contained within that town. And usually these towns are a bit a ways from, you know, the popular place where people will go for entertainment or for shopping and things like that. So there's likely some other area that's close to this that we'll be learning about as well that might play some part in this. I'm not sure that one of these 123 people actually have the piece that we're looking for in this case. Thank you to KXII.com. They're the only ones that have covered this case so far. Of course, that's where the starting footage for today's episode came from, but let's get a little more detail from what they wrote back in May of 2021. Family of 27-year-old Dakota Covington describes him as a homebody. His father says he last saw Dakota at home on April 29th. The posters are noting that he was last seen in the morning, which of course makes sense. Basically, his father saw him before he left for work for the day. I left to go to work, and whenever I got back, he was gone. The 27-year-old kept to himself. He was close to his family and loved by many. Quote, he was a great, good kid. He was one of the kids that every parent dreamed of. He was raised up here. He went to school here, so everybody knows him, and they know what kind of kid he is, said his father. In terms of details, that's about all we have. So you can understand why we're going to need some help getting into this more. I do want to also just thank See Me OKC for also adding a post about this. No additional details, basically the stuff that we've already covered. So with that, it's time to bring on the family. And I know I've got a bunch of questions we've got to get to. Let's see if we can flesh out some facts, some information, and maybe find some way to be helpful to them and this case. And we're welcoming to the channel Felicity. This is Dakota's sister Felicity on the left, and on the right is Tiffany. And you guys kind of have a special relationship. Can you lay it out for us real quick?
Yes. Okay, so when I was 17, Tiffany's family took me in when I kind of fell in hard times. I was a young teen mom. I had a child, and they adopted me. So this is my adoptive little sister from there.
Okay.
But
okay.
I was raised my entire life with Dakota. Even afterwards, and I moved out on my own. I'm still close with my mom and things. It's just kind of a situational thing that was better to.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's been good having your connection to Tiffany. I mean, outside of the obvious of, having her family be so caring and take you in like that. But Tiffany, you've also faced some things with a loss in your family as well, right?
Yes.
So I think it was to violence.
Yes.
Yeah. So just having that kind of connectivity and that kind of experience, I think is really special and helpful. So thank you for joining us here today and helping Felicity with all this. Felicity, can you tell us a little bit about Dakota as a person? Obviously, there's one news article. I can get his father seemed to love him. From all the photos that I saw, it looked like there was a lot of children that loved him as well. I know there was it your son? There's one photo in particular where there's a little boy on his shoulders.
Yep,
Yes.
that's Silas.
That is my son. Dakota was a big part of his life. Dakota helped raise me. Our mom went to nursing school. She worked a lot of hours. She raised 3 kids. He taught me how to straighten my hair and do my makeup when I was 8. He taught me how to cook things, basic things. They weren't fancy, but I could survive.
Yeah.
He taught me how to fight, how to be a person. Honestly, he told me you don't take anything from anybody and nobody has to love you, so don't chase it.
Yeah.
He was my best friend and my hero. I had my son at 15, and that's crazy even saying it now. But I got extremely depressed because my son spent a month in the NICU. He was premature, and it was hard for me to go home without him. So when he did come home, I had a really hard time kind of adjusting.
Yeah.
So my big brother would get up at night with me and help me change his diaper and feed him and make sure I was okay. And then he'd rub my back to have me go back to sleep. And he knew I felt bad having a hard time with my son, but he'd just be like, "It's okay, Fissy. Everything's going to turn out just fine." I don't think anyone calls me Fissy anymore either.
Yeah. Wow.
He was the best person. He had other siblings. We have another brother on his dad's side. So we don't have the same dad. We have the same mom.
Okay.
On his dad's side, he has sisters as well. And they all miss him dearly. He was literally he spent half the time with us, half the time with them, and was pretty much everything you could ask for in a big brother and like pretty much a father figure at that point.
Yeah. Well,
I don't think anyone knows me better at all, or anyone will ever understand me the way he did.
Yeah. And just to be clear, it seems like we're talking about him in past tense. I know it's been over 3 years. We're worried that the worst has happened here, right?
It's he had ulcers.
Okay.
And a mass in his stomach. He had medical problems. And he had to go to the hospital for blood transfusions and things like that because of the ulcers. And it was just a big thing. He had to have medical treatment, and nowhere has any record. Like, he would have to go somewhere and tell them who he was to get the right stuff.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised by that, because usually, even though we're talking about a case with super limited information, I will run into that with the NamUs profile or on some of the posters, because they'll note he had, medical needs. And in some instances, law enforcement will actually escalate those cases and give them different classifications of like, oh, he's endangered because if he doesn't get his treatment or his medication, his life could be endangered.
My mom has said she told them this. I don't know what his dad told them. If when he made the report, he even said anything, if he was even thinking about it at the time.
Okay. Okay.
It's honestly, his dad wasn't in the best place. He has since passed away, but
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
he just wasn't doing the best
We'll get into the
at the
details a
time.
little bit, and it's tough because obviously since he has passed away, you know, it's not like we want to drag someone through the mud here, but we also
Yeah.
we want to understand the conditions of what's happening in the home and how that might be playing into this case. So let's start with who was living there on that day. Was it just the two of them?
No, so his dad was married, and it was him, his wife, their like his stepdaughter, her daughter, she was younger, and my brother.
Okay. Okay. So we got 4 people that are there. His dad goes off to work in the morning. Does the wife
Yes.
work as well?
Yes, I'm pretty sure she worked, and the stepdaughter was at school. I've been my mom has been told that I guess Scott told her that when he left, something was wrong. I don't know what was said exactly, but he had asked Dakota if he was okay, and Dakota had said, "No, they're gonna get me," or something along the lines of that. Like, he pretty much said, "No, I'm not okay, something's wrong." And his dad just kind of was like, "Okay, well, stay inside, don't go anywhere," and then just kind of left and went to work.
Okay. But so we have everyone clear out of the house. We have something that is said that is giving them some cause for concern, which is interesting because one of the things his dad did say in the interview that I saw was that Dakota would always reach out to his dad if he needed help with something or if something was happening.
Yeah. So I feel like, because my mom has said Scott had told him that, so I feel like my brother did, in fact, say something like that, pretty much saying, "No, like, I need your help, something bad will happen." Even if it wasn't those specific terms, like, he told his dad, "Something is wrong. I'm not okay," pretty much.
Yeah. So in terms of the type of things, are there drugs going on in this house with any particular family members?
Um, I believe that his dad may have been on drugs.
Okay.
Um, I don't know for sure, but there are some things, not gonna go into detail about it, but there are some things that would indicate he was doing drugs,
Dakota
and
as
I
well,
believe
or
he was
just
arrested for something that had to do with drugs.
okay. I was going to ask about that because one of the photos that came up on the NamUs profile looks like a booking photo, like he's in front of the height chart, you know.
Yeah. His dad had been arrested for
Sorry, Mike, I think
drugs
the booking
last.
photo he's talking about is Dakota's
Yeah, I'm
picture.
talking about Dakota's.
Oh, my brother. Okay, so my brother had been in an accident. He was maybe like 18, and he had they gave him pain medicine, like pain pills, and he ended up getting addiction
Okay.
to them. He was about 20 years old when he came to live with us again, where we live, because it was hours away from where he was, and he just needed to get away. And he had actually gotten sober that way, like this time where I ended up getting pregnant, and he ended up being there for me and helping raise my son for a year and stuff like that. He had been going into recovery and sobriety to get away from that at the time.
Okay.
I don't know of anything else. I was 15 at the time, so if there was anything going on, I probably wouldn't have noticed.
Yeah, yeah. But he doesn't
And
go
when
missing.
he moved back away, we wouldn't have known.
When he moved back away, I don't think he would have, because he had moved back and stayed sober, and then right before he went missing, for the year before went missing, he was living down in our area again with our mom, because he was having like a lot of pains and stuff like that. So my mom was helping him, and just his stomach wasn't doing too good.
Okay.
And it was like not even. He went back there November that year because our grandma had passed away, and we went to her funeral, and we left him there. I remember that day. He cried when he hugged me goodbye. I should have just taken him back with me. But And then in April, he was gone. So it wasn't even like 6 months before he was gone.
Yeah. Did he work at all? Was he working at the time, or?
He had tried to have like some jobs, but it was kind of hard because not too many things, like a lot of things are labor jobs and stuff for men. So it's kind of,
Yeah. Yeah. And he's dealing with chronic pain, right?
yeah.
Okay. Um, did he have any modes of transportation? Like when everyone left for the day, was there a car that would have stayed home, or?
Not that I believe. No. I think if he went anywhere, he'd like walk or he'd go take a bus or something or
Okay.
he'd ask for a ride from somebody.
Okay. Okay. Did he have a cell phone?
Yes.
Okay.
Which nobody has seen at all. No sign or glimpse of it since he's been missing.
Okay. So we've got a potential piece of information there that could be helpful if they would kind of check the cell phone history, maybe look for the towers, look for the GPS.
Yeah.
Where the last ping was on the phone.
Yeah. Yeah. Do we know if anything like that has been done with the investigators, or?
No, I'm kind of like blocked out. I live far away. I've never honestly really lived there.
In Meade?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's kind of, I was born in Durant and I have never lived in that area. I've never lived in Bryan County in my life.
Okay. Okay. I was going to
So it's
ask
kind of,
about it just because, hearing that it's a town that's so small and there's only 100 people, I think there's like 50 houses in the whole town. Like, is there a neighboring area where you would go for like going to a big store or going for entertainment things?
so Durant would kind of be like that
Okay.
metropolis, like the big part of Bryan County.
Yeah.
And the other place is like 30 minutes or so. It's kind of like just one of those just suburban little towns off of the bigger town.
Okay. Okay. And did he have connections there? Would there have been people that he wanted to see there?
Yes, Dakota grew up half of his life in Bryan County.
Okay.
So it's kind of, he graduated from Silo High School, just
So,
like our parents or his dad. I don't remember if my mom did, but I know his dad did.
so we've got a situation where, yeah, he's living in a town of 120 people, but there could be people coming from 30 minutes away, 40 minutes away, maybe to pick him up, give him a ride,
Yeah.
take him somewhere.
Yeah, he could be taking a bus somewhere. It could be anything.
Okay. Okay. So he goes missing. Do we know how long it takes for the report to be made, the missing persons report?
My mom said his dad took like 3 or 4 days to actually report him or say anything.
Does that seem reasonable to you, or do you feel like
No.
it doesn't?
I mean, I understand that as adults, usually the police will say like you have to wait 48 hours to know for sure or file a report because that's
actually
we're
true.
adults. Yeah. That's what they say, and I'm sure that was some sort of excuse that Scott used. I don't know. Not to say anything bad, but he was probably like, he's an adult, he could have been out with somebody.
Yeah.
Just thinking that, but I don't
But
know.
with what he said that morning and then just being gone and not coming home that first night, that should have been a red flag.
I don't know if it was fear. I don't know if maybe he thought maybe Dakota got beat up or something, and like he'd like come back beat up or something. I don't know. I don't know if he just blissful negligence.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we are looking. We're talking on a true crime channel, so people are going to be asking the question. I'm just going to put it to you just to see what the response is. Are we worried that Scott did something to him?
I honestly don't think Scott himself would have hurt Dakota.
If anything, I feel like maybe he knew something.
Actually, thinking a little bit, there are some situations that it's not my personal business to say. But there are some situations where at the end of all this, he was starting to get a little violent, even towards his own children. But I don't know for sure if that started getting worse after Dakota or if it was like that before. Like, I can't say for sure.
Okay. Okay.
So it's kind of, I don't know for sure, or if he started getting more aggressive later on because of his guilt or something. maybe I don't know for sure. And I honestly never got the chance to ask. I just kind of quit talking to him. I was so hurt. I was so mad.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Just so angry.
It's a little bit more of a pressing question knowing how his life ends, which is basically he winds up taking his own life while he's in jail.
Yeah, which is even more, I'm not gonna lie, I was really mad at him for doing that. I was like, how dare you? Just how dare you?
Yeah.
Just like he did the one news thing, and we noticed automatically. He, like, the first thing he said was Dakota was a good kid. He was great.
And this was like right after he made the missing persons. That's why the news was making the thing. So the fact that he was talking about Dakota in a past tense so quickly, so soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
To me, that shows
it never sat right.
I'm sorry. I'm just going to say it blatantly. That to me, that shows he had to have known something.
Even if he wasn't a part of it.
He didn't have to be a part of it, but he had to have known something.
Yeah, you know,
and then as soon as he gets arrested, you know, he took his own life. So even if it had other things to do with it, and that just was like the cherry on top, it's definitely just fishy for somebody on the outside view like us and mom. And
yeah, I know that like for true crime viewers, that has become something that we're all kind of keyed in on. Like, we were really looking at the phrasing and that kind of stuff. And there's times where it doesn't stick out to me. And because, I deal with so many families that are dealing with this. And there's times where they do come to a belief, kind of like when we started the conversation here today. You're also talking about it in the past tense. But what's interesting is, he did that interview really soon after the disappearance. I'm talking to you 3.5 years down the road. So there's some times where the phrasing to me just doesn't really look that obvious, like it's something necessarily bad. This phrasing did stick out to me as a little different.
There was nothing present tense at all that he said about Dakota, one bit in that entire thing. And I listened to it 10 times.
Yeah.
And if you go back and look at the date that was published, that was not
took like days.
That was not very long. Like, you can't.
Yeah.
How do you assume that so soon?
Yeah, that's troubling. What
if he was having a mental break or something and would have came back?
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, and also, just to kind of point out the pain that you're going through with all this, Felicity, like, to realize that he would, to realize that he would do that to you, knowing the pain that you're already in because of missing Dakota. Like, I get that anger, and that's something that you're probably going to be struggling with for a really long time.
I honestly forgive him because Scott wasn't always like that. He, like, for a long time, he was pretty much like my dad. The early years of my life, he was caring and he was great. And I don't know what happened after we all got older, after we all grew up. I don't know if he went through some sort of trauma.
Yeah.
But he just kind of changed, and it went from the man that I used to spend every summer with my big brother to I didn't really want anything to do with him anymore, to a stranger. So I forgive him. I'm not going to lie, because at one point I did love him, and he loved me, and he loved us, and I know he did. And I'm not going to lie, I'm a recovering addict. I know that you are not the same person in addiction. I've got 6 years this July. It's insane. So I have to forgive him because that wasn't who he was as a person. That's what his bad decisions turned him into.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's really amazing that you have that perspective in this situation already.
I can't keep adding anger. My poor partner we got together, like, we were together for 6 months when my mom called to tell me that somebody said my brother was shot in the head. He has seen the anger. He's seen the tears.
Yeah.
He's seen the everything. It's been a hard time. And if I didn't have the people that I have in my life, I don't think I would have made it.
Yeah. 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 And you wouldn't be holding on to your sobriety. I mean, that's another important aspect of all this. So yeah, congratulations.
I have a family.
Yeah.
And my family means everything to me. and I focus on making my big brother proud and being the way that he raised me to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just kind of.
Yep. So you did make mention of there was essentially kind of a tip that came in to your mother at some point that Dakota was killed, that he was shot. We're going to get to those details. But before we do, who's the law enforcement agency that is taking the missing persons report?
I believe Bryan County.
Bryan County. So it would be, at the county kind of sheriff's level, right? Meade doesn't have its own police department, I would assume.
Not that I know of. I mean, it's been years and years since I was even in that area, but
it's so small. Like I can't imagine they have a police department.
Yeah, so. It's kind of, the county handles that stuff because.
Yeah. And who is the main point of contact with law enforcement on this case?
I don't remember the original detective's name that was on it because they've switched him, and I have not been informed of the new name of the detective that is on it. I haven't been able to.
What about on your family's side? Who's the person that they've allowed to be in contact?
Our grandma.
Okay.
Or his grandma. It's kind of.
Sure.
She's pretty much the only living direct member in the area anymore. So it's kind of.
So is this Scott's mother?
Yes.
Okay. Have you talked to her? Are you in touch with her?
I talk to her every now and then, especially after she lost her son. It's kind of, she lost her grandson and then her son, and I saw what it did to my mom. So I was just kind of like, are you okay, Grandma? Just if you ever need anything, let me know. I'll be there if you need me.
Yeah.
It's kind of, again, it's hard though, because I do live far away. I don't live close.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if there's a way to kind of fire up those lines of communication again, but I would just, ask her about like, hey, have you asked the investigators about the cell phone? Because we know how helpful they are in investigations nowadays. I would like to hope that they've already ran all that, but just to even get the information back to the family, maybe she hears something from the investigator, she could tell you, that gives you maybe a light of hope of some kind that there's something being worked on there.
I feel like my mom is in contact with her a lot more often. I just kind of, I don't know, grief kind of closed me off a little bit.
Really?
It's hard for me. Like, I talk to her to check on her, but honestly, it's kind of hard for me to talk to my mom sometimes because they want to talk about it, and then it's just kind of like, I lost a piece of my soul. Like, it's gone, it's missing. I don't know where to find it yet.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it every time I talk to you. I'm sorry, I can't.
Yeah. No, I get that. And every family member is going to be dealing with it in a bit of a different way. And it might take you some time, and you might have to try to start that conversation 5 times and not go all the way into it. But I think if you have some piece of the puzzle that could be helpful in there, you just want to make sure that someone is running that down the, down the lane a bit. So, yeah, I'd say I know it's not fun. I know it's not going to be an easy conversation to have, but maybe it could just be as simple as a phone call to your mom on a particular day or time where you're feeling strong. You've got your adopted sister Tiffany sitting next to you, just like you're doing here tonight. Like, just, try to find the right time and the right energy and the right effort to make that contact. And
I can help you.
I know.
Yeah.
You've helped me a lot. Like, I honestly had no idea. I had no idea what to do or who to try to get a hold of or what to do. But she just kind of kept watching me drowning and being like, I need to do something. There has to be something else that can be done. Like, I can't just keep doing this. So she kind of put it on herself to get this done and reach out to anybody she could. And I don't think I've cried that hard in a long time when she told me, because I was just so lost.
Yeah. It's because of Tiffany that we're here talking tonight. And so I think she could be a good little spark plug for you to maybe keep that energy and effort going. Think about this. think of how you already feel just taking this step of even, hey, we're going to get some more information out there. We're going to have more information than any other. There was only that one news article. So we already know that we've upped the game in terms of giving the public a way to learn more about this.
That's what I told her. I was like, this guy has mass amounts of people that watch him all over the world. I mean, Dakota's going to be known now. Instead of the guy that has that one little article, he's finally going to have his name out there.
Yeah.
My mom tried to contact like the news stations around there again too, and she tries every year, and they're just kind of like, sorry, it's old news.
Yeah.
He's a cold case now.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
He's not a cold case. He's a person.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and there's steps and things that we can help with on that front too. And Tiffany, I think I sent you the link to, I have a whole website, missingpersontips.com. And one of the things to help drum that up is holding vigils, holding annual events, reaching out to the news when his birthday comes up again. Like there's a couple of certain triggers where you have a little bit of a better chance of getting the news to actually respond to, doing something like that. And we're a couple months ahead of, April of when he went missing. So might have some time to kind of formulate some little game plan and see if we can try to get their attention again. So, okay, this tip, how does your mother hear this information? What happened around this? Why do we think that he possibly has been shot?
So it was about a year after he was gone. Not exactly, but close. And my mom had called me out of the blue, and she had added our little brother to the call and was like, I need to talk to you. And so she had told us that there was a young woman, call her young woman A, because there's two in the story. There was a young woman who was looking for a roommate, like just a place to rent out, a place to stay,
Okay.
normal. So woman A sees an ad made by woman B, and so she answers it and goes to the house to look.
Okay.
Well, while woman A is touring the house and looking, woman B stops in one of the rooms in the house, and she goes, you know that Dakota Covington guy that's missing? And woman A says, yeah, I do. What about it? And woman B looks at her and starts bragging, saying, well, I watched my boyfriend shoot him in the head right here. I got to watch him bleed to death. So I guess she went on a little more detail. Woman B did, that her boyfriend. Yeah, please.
That her boyfriend borrowed a friend's pickup truck and took Dakota's body and placed it in the truck and took it to a different location that is unknown and put his body in barrels after he dismembered the body. And then a couple of months later, so it is said that that truck got put into the impound, but it was never looked into. Not sure if it was ever taken out of impound, like they went and paid the fee to get it out, or if somebody at the impound lot did what they do whenever you never come pick up your vehicle.
So did your mother know woman A before she ran into this information?
No. I guess after woman B had been bragging and telling everything and, thinking that she was cool, woman A, kind of got herself out of the situation, played it off, and she had told my mother she had contacted the police first and told them what she was told.
Okay.
Told them woman B's name and that stuff and like what was going on. And then because I somehow through my brother's Facebook or something, she had found our mom.
Okay.
And so she had wanted to contact her because it had been about a year, no answers or anything. And she was like, I couldn't just let this go. I had to tell you, I had to give you something.
That's interesting. So she tried to put it in play. She basically called it in to the investigator or into the
Yes.
sheriff's or the county sheriff's office. And it sounds like she wasn't contacted back.
I don't believe she was. I think my mom did like kind of do a little back and forth with her for a little bit to see if maybe they ever called, just, hey, any updates? And after a little bit of nothing, she just kind of quit talking to her.
That is unbelievable. That is really unbelievable. I would say we now have like a little second thing on your checklist in terms of when you're ready to talk to your mom about this case. Ask them about GPS and ask them about this lead. Like, those are the two things that you guys got to press on together. And to the point of, like, if you need to have some event, the thing that's tough about this is you're talking about such a small community. I don't even know if they have like a city hall or a records building. Like, you could have with a community that big, it might only take 3 of you holding some signs and going to the right intersection, and you would raise a ruckus in terms of attention. I mean, it could really be that simple. And I think what it sounds like, it's hard. I'm trying not to be, I don't feel like I have enough information to be super critical of law enforcement, because we've got this kind of gap. You're not talking to them directly, but it sounds like, especially if that woman didn't get contacted back with a lead like that, where she has someone admitting to at least witnessing what happened. That seems like a ball being dropped. And sometimes you want to make sure that you're laying a little pressure to make sure that they take those next steps when it comes to that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's really, really troubling. That's really troubling. Did he ever talk to you about having trouble with anyone in general, or did he ever reach out to you about any comments of people being after him or him having trouble?
No, honestly, the only thing, like me looking back on everything, and the only thing that I can think of was the day my little brother and I left him there to go stay and went back to our home.
Yeah.
Like, because my big brother doesn't cry like that. He doesn't. He's a very strong personality, strong person. And it's just kind of, I was telling him bye and he started crying. And he hugged me and he was like, I love you so much. And I was like, why are you crying? We had just left my grandma's funeral, so I thought, maybe that had something to do with it.
It could. Yeah, it could.
But I don't know. It was the way he hugged me a little tighter. And he was like, I love you, Fissy. Always remember that.
Yeah.
Like, looking back on it now, that sounds like I might not see you at the end of this all. Just know that I love you. Because he was never really like that. He didn't really do goodbyes like that. It was kind of different.
And he hadn't been talking to you about having any trouble with Scott at that point?
I know him and his dad weren't exactly getting along, and they were getting along, but he was mad at his dad because his dad wasn't, being the kind of man he should be.
Okay.
Like, he loved his dad, but he was like disappointed in him. So it was kind of, I know there was that, but it like wasn't like they were actually fighting about it or anything. He was just kind of like, I'm disappointed.
Yeah. Yeah. And that might kind of tie into the information that your mother heard from this tipster a little bit. So there's another little offshoot of this story that the woman B, basically her boyfriend, might have been owed money, possibly by Scott.
Yes.
And that's why Dakota was there. Effectively, Dakota was going to pay this guy off to kind of make sure Scott didn't get in trouble.
Yeah. It was, Dakota would protect his family no matter what. He didn't matter if he had to give you every last thing he had. If it meant you'd be okay, then he'd do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's interesting because that also, honestly, the way this is looking right now, we've talked about 2 major theories: possibility of some disagreement that happened between Dakota and Scott, and maybe things went too far in some way. Or this other story, now that we have this tipster kind of reaches out to your mom and we start getting the pieces of this other story. No, Dakota went to a location to pay off a debt for Scott, and then for some reason things go sideways there, which I don't know. It's weird. I've looked into so many cases over the years, and the social engine can sometimes get kind of out of control, especially in smaller communities, it seems like. So I don't know how much stock to really put in that tipster story.
Yeah.
But the fact that they were motivated enough to try to call it into law enforcement, and then that didn't seem like it was enough for them, and then they reached out to your mother on top of that, seems like they're pretty convinced. Yes, in the internet era, I've also seen people that are looking for attention, and they will sometimes try to interject themselves into cases. But in most cases, people are trying to be helpful. Sometimes they don't have great information, but they're just trying to be helpful. This is an interesting cross, because I can't see someone just blatantly making up that story. I could see woman B lying,
Thinking she was cool.
Yeah. There was some kind of ego stroke for her that was coming off that, possibly. But I don't feel like woman A would necessarily be lying to your mom about that. If she was, it'd be a pretty terrible person, because she's calling to say, hey, I heard your son was shot and killed in this place.
My mom that said that woman A had seemed like honestly a little afraid for herself.
Yeah.
Because she had been told this stuff, and she was like, well, if this is really what's going on,
right,
I might get hurt.
I don't want to name exactly where this happened, but I just want to know, was this place specifically in Meade or neighboring areas?
It might have been in a neighboring area.
Okay.
Meade's not very big, I don't think.
Yeah.
I believe that it would have been in like because Meade is close to just bigger towns, so it was probably one of those.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Are there any other possibilities that you are considering as a family member? Other things that you think might be at play here that you want to share with everyone, or?
I don't know. Something in my soul just feels like it's missing. I don't know. I know I've heard people say this, like you can kind of feel when something's gone.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I also desperately hope that maybe he just like ran off to Mexico to get some crazy treatments for his medicine and found like a hot woman.
Yeah.
And lived his life. I'd be mad at him if he showed up on my doorstep a few years from now. I'll punch him in the face and hug him while I cry for putting us through that. But I honestly, I don't, that's kind of more of a dream. That's just kind of something to try to keep hope alive. But on the inside, it doesn't feel, he wouldn't do this to his family. He wouldn't do this to his nieces and nephews. He wouldn't do this to his siblings. He wouldn't do this.
Yeah. Does your son ask about him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He loves it. He likes to look at pictures of them when he was younger. And he'll ask me to tell him about his Uncle Coda. My daughter, I have a daughter who's younger, who sadly, she was a toddler last week, got to see him, so she doesn't remember him, but she does like to hear about him. She likes it when my son tells her stories, like stories I've told him, or shows her pictures. She likes to. It's something that they feel is missing, and I know they do.
Yeah. Well, and I know we spoke a little bit before the interview here about you're starting to feel like almost like you're getting jaded, like your emotions are just kind of locking up around this.
I don't have a lot of compassion or empathy for the people I love, and I know, yes, of course I care. It's just kind of, if somebody I know tells me that their friend's aunt died, I'm going to tell you I'm sorry, but I don't feel it.
Yeah.
I had to ask her if I was broken, because I used to never be like that. Like, I cared about people. It's just kind of like something was taken from me. I don't think I can take much more pain. So I think that's kind of my grief protecting me from feeling more pain from anyone else.
I'm glad to hear you say that. Yeah. Cause I don't want you to try to be blaming yourself about like, oh my God, I don't feel anything anymore. Am I turning into some kind of monster or something? I don't think so. I think you're in a spot where you're just,
what I asked you.
That's what she asked me.
That's literally what she asked you. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, no, like, honestly, like if I, like, since I went through something, I'm not want to say similar because it's 3 years and she still has no answers. I had to wait a year and we got, you know, maybe not the answers that we want, but answer enough. You know what I mean?
I don't think I care what the answers are anymore.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when you go through something like that and you don't get answers, I mean, it's not like, it's gonna take a while to feel whole again, even if that means your sympathy or your compassion or your lack of love, because a lot of that is going to be affected when something like this happens, because you're going to wonder, is this going to happen again? Is this going to happen to this person? Am I going to have to deal with this? So you're not going to want to get close to any more people because you're like, oh, I'm already close to all these people. Like, it's something that's going to be, it's gonna take years and years and years and years worth of just going through the pain in order to get back to where she was. She'll eventually get back there one day. I have hope she will.
I have panic attacks sitting my kids on the school bus now. Like, I am so rooted in fear that I am going to lose one of my children one day. I look at my son and I cry because my mom lost her firstborn son, and I'm like, I could never imagine not having you in my life. It is literally, my world is wrapped in fear and anxiety.
Yeah.
I don't like my partner going to work because he works far, and I'm like, well, what if something happens and I'm never going to see you again?
Yeah.
I don't like it when my friends don't message me for too long because I'm like, did something happen to you? Are you
okay?
Yeah, it's just, it won't, I don't know what to do. It slowly gets better. Everyone around me is patient with me. They don't get irritated or nothing. Like, they get it.
Yeah, of course.
It's just kind of like, I feel like I live my life in fear now too. It's just,
well, I'm hoping that there's a mechanism where you can start taking some of that back, and because the fear is freezing you. Like, that's literally what we're talking about. Like, your emotions are starting to feel frozen.
I'm
But
so terrified.
Yeah, you're so terrified of what's going to happen to your family, because look at what has happened to your family. Like, you've got this history to look at, but you've also got this big unknown. Like, we don't know. We don't know. We've heard a terrible story, and we know Dakota would be here, and he'd be spending time with you if he was still here. So we know we're probably facing the worst case situation here, but there's still, we have to find that little light of hope. And you're only going to find that by being sure that you're taking steps that feel good to you about, if nothing else, you're honoring him. Taking another moment and telling an extra story to one of your kids that maybe they hadn't heard before. Talking to your mom about the possibility of, like, do we want to go to Meade on a weekend day, like on a Saturday afternoon, and we're going to hold up a couple signs and stay still thinking about Dakota?
Honestly, we have a lot of family around there, so if we manage to make it there, it'd probably be more than the three of us. It'd probably be anybody from the surrounding area that was able to make it at that moment.
A sign that says, help
We have
us, sheriffs.
Here that would come with us.
Yeah. Like,
she actually makes t-shirts. I was going to have her make one that says, where's Coda?
Yeah.
Can you help us find
put
him?
him on a t-shirt, sweaters.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Girls, let's do it this year. We've got 3 months. Let's make it happen. And I'm telling you, coming away from that, when you're done at the end of the weekend and you're going home, you are going to feel different. You are going to feel like, wow, we really did something. And we gave Dakota a big hug, basically, in the only way that we can right now. And that feeling, I think, is going to help you chip away and kind of thaw that frozen aspect that you're talking about with your emotions and feeling like you're so afraid of everything. I think it's going to help you kind of get your power back a little bit. So I want to hear from you guys in 4 months, and I want to see some pictures of what happens around this. And around that is a perfect time to line up these conversations that you want to have with your mom, that you want to have with his grandma. Hey, have we talked to the investigators? Let's call them, because we're all going to be out there. Let's let them know that we're going to be out there.
Well, stop by. I'll go back there and talk to them.
You know,
I'll have to
there's
get
a
hold of
lot.
them.
Those steps are a lot, and you're gonna feel them. You're gonna feel the power of taking them.
We've been robbed. It's horrible. We've
Yeah.
been robbed.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'm pretty sure he's proud of you. I know
100%.
I'm moved by getting to know you through this call, and thank you so much for being so open.
Thank you.
And sharing everything that you have in this way. And you are honoring him in so many wonderful ways already. And I think there's stuff to do for him and for you. And if there's anything I could do to help facilitate that, please let me know. Tiffany's really good.
I'll let you know if we plan a vigil, if like we're able to get everybody together.
Yes, please
We'll take
do.
a picture for you.
Yeah. But let me know about it. Let me know about it before too. I never know where I'm going to be nowadays. So yeah. Is there anything that you want to share with everyone that is watching before we end here today?
If you know something, think about if it was your family. Think about if it was your brother, your dad, your niece, or your niece, your niece, your nephew, your grandpa. Think about if it was your family. You can call anonymously. You can you can type something up.
Write a letter.
And use gloves and put it in the mail. I don't care what you
do. We don't even have to know your face. We don't have to know nothing. Like
just give some answers,
Yeah.
Something that you would want in return.
We just
want
it was
closure. Your family.
I also want to put out the word that if you are, as we've been referring to her, woman A, if you feel like you haven't been heard by law enforcement there, please get in touch with me. You can email me at john@lordenarts.com. I've actually got a friend in law enforcement in that state. Maybe we can help that phone ring back for you. And outside of that, I'm just very curious about the information that you have and the story around that. So Woman A, please feel free to reach out to me. Of course, we have all the other contact information you need in the description box down below. Felicity.
Shoot, Woman B, if you want to brag some more, you even get a hold of.
Please.
I don't care.
Yeah.
If you give me an answer.
Yeah, please
even
do.
If somebody doesn't want to contact law enforcement, you can send information his way. He can forward it to law enforcement.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been down that road a few times. And yeah, who knows? Woman B maybe isn't with that guy anymore. Those relationships change.
Maybe she wants some revenge.
Yeah.
Get that revenge.
Yeah.
We want it too.
Yeah. I want justice, not revenge, but
it's the same thing.
No. Revenge turns your soul dark. Justice helps.
Okay.
Yeah. We don't want to do that. Felicity, Tiffany, thank you both so much for joining us this week. It was great meeting both of you, and keep me updated, please.
We will.
Thank you so much.
You got it.
You're awesome.
If you have any information about the disappearance of Dakota Covington, please contact the Bryan County Sheriff's Office. I know we've had the number up on the screen, 580-924-3000. They also want you to reference case number 2021-24008. And a big thank you again to his family for joining us here today and helping us understand so much more about this case. Please take a moment. If you have any friends in Oklahoma, please share this video with them. This case has practically no coverage. We now have a lot more detail than I've seen anywhere else. Please help us keep that searchlight going for Dakota. I'd really appreciate that. Of course, a big thank you to everyone that supports us here at the channel. We don't jam these presentations with commercials. We can only do that because of our amazing supporters. A big thank you to our two new patrons, Brennan and Tamara. If you would like to join, please visit lordenarts.com. There you can find a link for Patreon, PayPal. You can buy merchandise or even just buy us a coffee. We really appreciate it as we try to help so many of these families, even trying to take on cases that I usually wouldn't be able to help. I think we found a good middle road for that here today. And please show your support for that. Show the family whatever kind words you would want in the description or in the comments down below. I know that they'll be looking at it. Take care, everyone. Have a great Friday. Please enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. Come back next week and let's look into another case right here on the Lorden Arts channel.